In last week's reading, we observed Bitcoin through geometry. We saw that price does not move only between horizontal supports and resistances. It also leaves diagonals, structures, and sometimes resistance zones that only appear when we step back. Today, however, we will leave geometry aside for a moment and observe something quieter, the pressure hidden beneath price. I have a proprietary indicator that helps me observe this force. I call it the gauge. I observe, not instruct, for educational purposes only. Most participants observe the surface. They look for past tops, past bottoms, but the surface does not always tell the whole story. Beneath price, there is strength, there is exhaustion, there is pressure, and that is what the gauge attempts to reveal. When pressure is positive, the market can sustain movement above its reference. When pressure is negative, the market begins to lose support. But the line alone is not enough. All pressure needs a space, a limit, a channel. This channel does not follow price directly, nor is it merely a shadow of the line. It shows where current pressure stands in relation to its own memory. And in financial markets, memory matters. Imagine the channel as the space through which water can move. When that space is wide, pressure can still spread. When it compresses, force begins to concentrate. When the gauge breaks through that space, the water finally reveals its direction. Let us step back in time. History always has something to tell us. At the top of 2017, the channel was compressed in a positive regime. The water no longer had much room to move upward, so when the gauge broke downward, pressure changed direction, and price, with time, followed. Many say that the bottom of that cycle came in December of 2018. But observe March of 2020. The world entered panic. Bitcoin fell violently, and in that chaos, the gauge finally touched an extreme zone of selling pressure. The surface showed collapse, but pressure was beginning to reveal exhaustion. It was not a buy order. It was a rare point of reading. Now let us move forward to the next cycle. In January of 2022, the gauge left the positive regime and entered deterioration. Many still expected the uptrend to continue, but pressure had already changed. Later, in 2022, price made lower lows, but the gauge began to make higher lows. That divergence was difficult to ignore. Price still looked weak, but selling pressure no longer carried the same force. When price falls, but pressure falls less, the story begins to change. So, what lies ahead? Returning to the present, Bitcoin has once again touched an extreme zone of selling pressure. This deserves attention. But it is still not enough. Because the channel remains open, pressure can still spread. The upper part still carries the memory of the old buying pressure. The lower part still carries the memory of the recent decline. Force has not yet concentrated. The regime has not yet reorganized, and we are still in transition. And transition is not resolution. So, the question is not whether Bitcoin has already made a bottom. The right question is quieter. If there is another decline, will it come with the same pressure or with less? Compared with our previous readings, we can see that price is reacting exactly at the median of the diagonal we marked last week. In addition, when we open the wins, the first indicator shown here on this channel, we can see that the red regime still offers resistance to price. Bitcoin still faces important forces in this moment, but selling pressure is already showing signs of fatigue. Still, the market must answer whether that is enough. Well, time decides the rest.